Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to complete the facing operation. In the previous two videos we looked at geometry definition, tool selection, parameter selection, and then in the video before this we looked at how to set our approaches, retracts, and then our toolpath strategy using these four tabs on the bottom. So we're now ready to display our toolpath. I'm going to go ahead and hit this button down here on the bottom, which is our toolpath replay. And what it does is it generates the toolpaths, which you can see displayed in front of you. So again, this yellow line here, this is our move from the tool change point of the machine home to the start of the operation. And then if we zoom in, we can see a number of different colors. You can see that we have a yellow move from vertical move, which is our approach. And then we have green and cyan. Green is our actual rough cutting. The cyan color, or light blue, is our finishing passes. And then red is rapid. So red is for repositioning the cutter from the end of a path to the beginning of the next pass. So it's important to get attuned to these colors because that's how you troubleshoot, that's how you interpret what's in front of you to determine that it's correct and how to fix problems. Our replay window is used to help show how the tool moves through these tool paths. So there are these buttons here which allow us to rewind, go to the start of the tool path, to fast forward, to jump to the next operation, and so on. And then there are these other tools up here which allow us to impact what is displayed. Before we start using this, let's go over to this third button up here, which is our color mode. If by chance you are not seeing these colors, it's possible, or it's not possible, it is the case, that you are using the same color mode. So I'm going to click on this, and if you click on this, you notice that the rapid and the finish and the approach are all green. This is not very helpful because the colors are really important to help you troubleshoot your result. So please make sure that you toggle this to different colors so that you can see the different colors in the toolpath. So I'm going to go ahead and rewind this. And what this does is it rewinds the cutter to the beginning of the operation. So this is the position of the cutter after it's positioned from the tool change position. And the very first button here, there are a number of options. If you click on the little triangle, there are 4 or 5 options here that allow you to influence how the toolpath is displayed. I'm going to switch this to point-by-point replay of the toolpath, just so that we can step through and see how the tool moves. And once we've done this, we have the forward replay button, which allows us to single step through the toolpaths. So I'm going to press this, and then the very first move is our approach. Now notice one of the things that we set, if you recall from the previous video, we made sure that the tool came down off the part, meaning that the cutting edge, which is shown here in yellow, is not coming down with the tool over the part. And the reason for this is that a facing cutter on the bottom side here, because we're using inserts, there are no teeth to cut. So if you were to bring this tool down with its center in the middle of the workpiece, it would not cut a huge chunk of material on the underside of the cutter. And as you start moving the cutter, it could potentially damage the cutter as well as dislodge the part from the fixture. So we brought the tool down off the part. We had an offset of 100 thousandths, so there's a 100 thousandths gap, if you recall. So this is our approach move at 15 inches per minute. And then if we click forward, we see that the cutter moves from one end of the part to the other end of the part. And it moves off the part again by 100 thousandths. So we're clear of the part before the tool, if we hit the forward button again, steps across. So again, this step over distance is calculated based upon what we define in the toolpath strategy. You may find that you can adjust this so that the cutter does the fewest passes. That might be something that you want to do if you want to speed up the time of cut. And now we're going to move back down to the opposite end of the part. And so on. So we're going to keep clicking through now so the cutter moves back and forth. Notice that the overhang is 50 thousandths, or 50%, sorry. We set that too as one of the toolpath strategies. So the cutter now steps back and forth over. Now that we're done the roughing pass, what we would expect is for the cutter to reposition to do the finishing pass. So we'd expect a retract. So again, if you look at here at the end of the toolpath, there's a dark blue, which is the tool retracting. And then it should reposition using a rapid move, which is red, to the start of the finishing pass, which is the same position as where we started the roughing pass. So the cutter ends up at the same position as the start of the operation. And then if we step forward, we can see that there is another approach. So the cutter has moved, but it's moved a little bit deeper. It's moved to 10 thousandths. It's moved down to 10 thousandths to remove the final pass, the final finishing pass. And then as we step forward, we see now that the finishing pass is being cut, and we know that's because the color has changed. The color is cyan. And again, we can click through. And the last click will get the cutter up to that final retract. So we're now done with the operation. So I'm going to switch back to our continuous replay of toolpath. And if we rewind on that, with that display option and hit forward, the tool runs through very quickly, and it displays all the toolpaths rather than having to click each toolpath. There's one other option that's I'll talk about in this video. There are other options that we'll cover as we get into the more complicated operations. One of these is called full video, which allows us to replay the toolpaths using a material removal simulation. This simulation brings in the fixturing elements that we define as part of the operation. And if we go ahead and hit forward, it moves through pretty quickly, but the cutter goes through and it actually simulates removal of material. So to slow it down a bit, let's switch us back here to point-by-point replay. And then let's go ahead and step through. So here's our cutter. There's the first approach. There's our first pass. So this is our first pass of our roughing operation. And then we're moving back and forth across. So our roughing is done. We move back over, and then we start our approach for finishing. Finishing is a lot less, but you can still see it from the display. So this is another way where you can actually see the material removal being simulated as part of the operation. Okay, so we're done here. I'm going to hit OK. And remember to hit OK here to end your operation. It's important that you do this, and of course if you hit cancel at this point in time, everything that we've just done over the last few videos has gone away. It's also important not to jump to other tools on the toolbar. If you're in an operation, make sure you hit OK and then go to those tools. Again, let's say for example I wanted to do a measure. The measure tool will close or cancel this, and you may well lose all the work that you've done. So please hit OK before you go ahead. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and just do a save. So file, save. You can also do a save all if you have multiple documents open. But in this case, the only document that we modified is the process file. If we had modified the geometry, we might have to do a save all or save management to make sure that we get all the saves. But in this case, the only thing that we've done is we've changed our process. So that's it for defining a facing operation. There are a few other things that we'll talk about in one more video, which is to look at how do we change if we see a facing operation and things aren't quite the way we like it. What would we do? What are the things we can do to modify the facing operation so that it is better suited to what we want to get done. So that will be in our next video.